Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Maz, TV reporter at TheWrap. Welcome to our award series screening Q&A of The Boys, presented by Amazon. We'll be kicking off tonight's event with the trailer for The Boys and then going right into a conversation with writer and creator Eric Kripke and stars Karl Urban, Jack Quaid, Antony Starr, Erin Moriarty, and Jessie T. Usher. Also, if you want to make sure that you're invited to future events like this, please check out our membership service, TheWrap Pro. Now, before we introduce everyone, here is The Boys trailer.
People love superheroes. They swoop out the sky to save the day. People love that cozy feeling that superheroes give them. Get up. Robin!
My deepest condolences to Robin's family. She just stepped in the middle of the street. I couldn't.
She was a half step off the fucking curb.
Now, come on, Huey, just don't get upset.
Soups lose hundreds of people each year. It's collateral damage.
It's fucking diabolical. They're all like that? All of them.
Yeah. Pardon my French, fuck those fuckers. I've got the boys together. Jonas.
To do what?
Spank the bastard. For Robin.
And then
Lacing the shoes, I'm on the move. I got so much to prove.
It's suicide to go after the soups.
We can use help stuffing that.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Are you okay?
I'm fine. I'm just having a bad day. It's a work thing. I'm supposed to be this hero idol symbol, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing. She could help us.
She's a soup, just like the rest of them. You're wrong about her. Just remember, who your friends, who your enemies are. They just declared war. You can't do this. You don't have the fight. You never have. This kid is full of surprises. Well. It's not what it looks like. I thought we had an understanding. I know you're trying to be tough, but we're superheroes. Who are you?
Welcome back. It is my pleasure to introduce The Boys writer and creator Eric Kripke and stars Karl Urban, Jack Quaid, Antony Starr, Erin Moriarty, and Jessie T. Usher. Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Hey guys.
What's up, everybody?
So we've got some boys, we've got some soups, and we have the man in charge. So thank you all for joining me today. I've got a lot of questions, but let's start off with one for you, Eric. Today, the Boys fans got two big treats. We got the teaser trailer, which showed us more than we have seen or heard about season 2 this whole time. And the other announcement that Amazon is bringing you guys back to Comic-Con this year, although it will be virtual like every other Comic-Con panel this year. So Eric, can you tell us if we will be getting any new season 2 footage when you guys come to Comic-Con, including the full trailer?
I can't go into specifics, but there will be, it'll be an awesome panel, and there will be treats and footage and season 2 reveals and a couple exciting announcements, and it'll be worth your while for sure.
Okay, now that we've gotten that non-answer out of the way, let's go back to season 1, specifically where we ended with everyone, which was a very big reveal for Homelander and Butcher. Eric, Karl, and Antony, this is for you guys. Tell us what comes next after that big Becca bombshell.
Season 2.
Gentlemen, go ahead. You want to
You
try?
go, Cal. You
Oh,
go
mate.
for it, mate.
Well, the revelation that Becca is alive is obviously a monumental one, and the fact that she has a son, Homelander's son, is a game changer, and it really kind of alters the course and direction for everybody in season 2. And season 2 really gives us the opportunity to dive deeper into the characters, into their relationships. We get to sort of understand more about who they are and how they operate. And we also introduce some pretty badass, mean new soup villains to boot. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we sure do. And we get to
awesome,
give out
Karl.
some pro tips about parenting, which is not to be missed.
Eric, anything to add there? Or are you just going to let them?
No, I'll just say, by Becca being alive, that takes away, everything that was motivating Butcher in season 1. So he finds himself spinning, and we really explore, why he's on this path of vengeance, because he's still on it, even though Becca's now alive. And it forces us to really dig deeper into Butcher's character, which, Karl kicks the shit out of this season. Like, it's really exciting to watch. And for Homelander, exactly what Antony said. He wants to be a father, which is the worst possible fucking thing for that character.
Yeah, I mean, but the great thing about it though is that season 2s are always it's the difficult second album, and it's tricky to get right. And the scripts that came out were amazing, and for every character, like across the board, it's gone deeper and more internal, and the struggle gets more intense for each person. And I think, Homelander's not excluded from that, and throwing the kid into the mix for everyone, well, that trio at least, really tests everyone in new ways, and it's really fun.
Erin, Jack, and Jessie, you 3 had your own big cliffhanger in the finale that was very connected with the battle between A-Train and Huey and Starlight, ending with A-Train having a heart attack and Starlight attempting to revive him while sending Huey away in hopes he wouldn't be caught by Vought. So, for starters, Erin and Jack, tell us how Huey being on the run and Starlight being stuck with the 7 is going to affect their romantic relationship in season 4.
Oh, man. Erin, you want to take this?
You know what? I'm going to hand it off to you.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. It's not great for him, for sure. Huey feels real bad about just, lying to Annie.
As he should.
Yeah, as he should, of course. No, he feels real bad. Oh, man. Eric, how much can I say?
I know. I will say that, it's like you don't just go through heartbreak like that and have feelings switch off, obviously. So I think it's interesting dynamic for them to explore in season 2 because, they fall hard in season 1. So regardless of what happens, there are going to be residual feelings despite, the dramatic ending of season 1. So that's some interesting stuff to work through.
Yeah, there's no clean breakup. It was, they got some stuff to work there for sure.
Yeah.
Jessie, because A-Train had a heart attack, and we've known him this strong force, but throughout season 1, he was dealing with recovery and what that means for a soup and like being allowed back in and if it was time and everything. Do you think this heart attack will actually slow him down or force Vought, who are evil, to rethink what's actually happening with Compound B and what it's doing to these people that they have shot them up with?
It's an interesting choice of words. I think in the moment, A-Train's not worried about any of those things. He's kind of just fighting for his life. But, in the grand scheme of the show and the Vought and what it means to be a soup with a heart condition and, like having a heart attack is a pretty terrible thing to happen to not only just like a superhero, but a superhero who relies on his physical abilities, like his athleticism, in order to stay relevant. So for him, that heart attack is, that is the epitome of shit hitting the fan for him. And the bounce back is is the only thing that really matters from that point on. You know, if he survives, what does that look like? You know, what would he be able to do after a heart attack? You know, that was just like the accumulation of all the troubles that have been bothering him for the entirety of the first season. But there's a lot of other things that are in that mix that A-Train would have to deal with after that moment. And you know, I'm praying that he recovers.
Eric, you did an AMA after season 1 where you talked about one of the things. It was like the only thing you said that Amazon was like, we can't include that, we can't do that, and it was a bit you said with Homelander. I want to ask if there's anything that's come up with season 2 yet. I don't want you to have to spoil anything, but has there been anything where they're like, that's pushing it, that's too far, we can't do that, like that?
No, they were generally, they've given us as much latitude as as we could possibly ask for. And we've had some really fucking insane moments. And this season, I would say we topped last season in terms of level of insanity in general. I mean, Antony's right. It actually is a deeper, more introspective season, but it also has like the craziest things that are happening.
Sure.
I mean, I'm traumatized for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I think we're finding ways to get all the madness into the show for sure.
Part of the teaser that we got this morning, we saw more of Ayakash's Stormfront, who it looks like is going to be a threat to Homelander in some way. It seems like his leadership might be a little bit questioned by this new person entering. Is that fair to assume, Antony? Is that how, or is that at least how Homelander's taking it?
Well, no, I mean, anyone that comes in, I mean, I think the scene that she comes in while she's what do the kids call it? Live streaming.
It's what we're doing right now.
Streaming and puts Homelander on the spot, right? And it's a direct challenge to him, and then undermines his authority. And so right off the bat, she is a little, open can of worms. And it doesn't get any better, It really puts him on the back foot, and it pushes him into a new place of insecurity and neediness that he hasn't experienced before. And I think, I mean, it was a great piece of casting because you've got this lovely, charming, funny, witty girl, Ayakash. She's so fucking talented, and she's so good, and she's so nice. And then, of course, she's playing this like kind of warped little broad, and it gives it so many more layers that you wouldn't get if Eric had hired some little witch and just asked her to be herself. No, but it is. It's a really interesting character to put into the mix, and it definitely screws with Homelander.
You guys were fortunate enough, and we as fans are lucky enough that we will have the show, and it's one of the shows that was completed when everything got shut down, and we have this, especially because you guys got your first renewal ahead of you, before you even launched season 1, and you were already in production. So I wanted to ask you guys about the experience of filming it far enough out that we now get to have this and enjoy this when TV's going to start to run out in a little bit if we can't get back up into production.
Eric, that's more of a question for you, I guess.
Eric,
I think Eric should take that one.
Crickets and tumbleweeds.
I'll start. Okay. All right. I have things to say. We were really fortunate, and technology is such that it's just so remarkable that how much of the show we were able to finish remotely just on our laptops. That was just a crazy experience because you're used to being in editors' rooms and mix stages, and all of that was just coming through my computer and a good pair of headphones. So, it wasn't ideal, but we definitely were fortunate to be able to finish. The thing that's scary in a we're not picked up yet, but in a theoretical season 3, it's scary, frankly, the desert of production there's going to be in 2021. A lot of showrunners, I've talked to a lot of them because we're all just trying to get our heads around how to even do this. And there's just so many unknowns. And my fear is, that things will just keep getting pushed back. So we have to figure out how to do it. And I don't know if anyone's got an amazing answer yet.
New Zealand is COVID free at the moment.
I was going to say,
you had that one guy who like took off and went to the grocery store. That was in the news yesterday.
Yeah, no, how crazy is that? So New Zealand's COVID free, and this one dude came into the country, decided to go out to the grocery store and walk around, take a couple of selfies. When they got back to the hotel, he was arrested, and they tested him, and he's COVID positive.
Oh my God, that's
I know, it's crazy. We worked so hard as a country to get to this point, and then this idiot does that.
That's so
anyway,
small.
fingers crossed.
But at least you can trace that and track that. You know,
that's right. That's true. That's total. This isn't what Jennifer wants to talk about.
No.
So not shooting any possible future season in New Zealand. No, nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So the interesting thing about season 2 in terms of rollout is you guys are switching from dropping it all at once, which is what we had for season 1, to dropping the first 3 and then rolling out weekly. What was the decision behind that? And Eric, you might know better, but how do you guys as a cast feel about being able to have this different kind of engagement with fans rather than just everyone seeing it all at once? You're going to have a weekly kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the game can answer. I mean, I think, however you guys...
I think it's great.
No, I think it's
awesome. It's fantastic. It just keeps the conversation going for this will be 5 weeks, right? Which is great. You give them enough of a taste, 3 episodes, really to get them invested and involved. And then, like a good drug dealer, we just parcel it out week by week,
Yeah.
And I mean, I've always thought that shows that do that have that added benefit of creating much more buzz and getting people to the party the entire span of the run. So from my perspective, I think it's fucking great.
Also, and I mean this in a good way, you're going to need time to process certain episodes.
I agree.
You really are.
Yeah. I agree. You know what's interesting? After this teaser came out, and I just scrolled through Twitter for a little bit and started reading a lot of the comments that people were saying. They're seeing very little snippets in creating this universe, of what they think is going to happen, and that's pretty much what having a weekly show will allow you to do. You watch an episode, and then you get to wonder for a week, what's about to happen. This has to lead to there, and you give yourself time to really get worked up on it, just for the boys.
And it gives us time to work them up as well. We can
exactly, we get to get everybody riled up.
I'm just gonna throw out red herring theories to every fan.
Exactly.
Just fake things. Everyone dies tomorrow.
Then we'll later.
Go to New Zealand and learn to surf.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be fun. It'll be fun.
We don't have Elizabeth Shue this season anymore. R.I.P. Madeline Stillwell. But we were introduced to Giancarlo Esposito's character at the end of season 1. Yeah. Eric, how much can you tell us about Stan and what he's going to be doing at Vought and with the Soups? How he's in charge of this whole operation?
Yeah, sure. Giancarlo, who is, he's just one of the great actors. It's just he classes our shit up. And he has he has an expanded role in season 2 for sure. We needed someone with upon Stillwell's demise to represent really the cold corporate face of Vought. And then the other thing we were really, really interested in is, he's at a height that is above where Stillwell is, which is she needs to coddle, these Uber celebrities, and manage them. It's it's the difference between the head of Fox Studios and Rupert Murdoch. And, and his attitude is he's in a weapons and pharmaceutical company, and these movies and things are a distraction to him. And so his attitude towards the Seven is much cooler, I would say, and not nearly as placating or respectful as Stillwell was, which, you know, again, is yet another thing that really knocks Homelander on his heels this year, because he's faced with a boss who, frankly, could give a shit about a lot of the things that he can do, and I think Homelander does not react well to that.
100%, and his breast milk tastes awful.
It's not nearly as good. Not as good. It's like yeah,
it's
too
so
thick.
grainy.
It's so grainy.
Erin, I wanted to ask about, obviously you as Starlight are the entry point we get into the world of the Scoops in season 1 and what that's like and being incorporated into that and what that life is like. So I wanted to ask about coming in as Starlight, Annie becoming Starlight, and what she has to go through in terms of changes to her personality and her look and what they want her to be, and what you did while you were dealing with that transformation and playing that out on screen, because they try and take her and they make her into something that she's not.
Mm-hmm. You mean as an actress and handling that sort of trajectory that she had?
Yeah, because you go from being Annie to the Starlight they want her to be. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think, I think that the interesting thing about like her trajectory all of season 1 is the audience is experiencing all of it real time with her and having all of these realizations at the same time she is. And she is loaded up with a lot of new revelations about the life that she's been inducted into. And I think she is so badly trying to hold on to who she is and her morals. But in doing so, she just makes mistakes. And ultimately, I think that she does kind of find her way through it and find herself through it. But to be honest, like, it was hard, but in a good way. Like, I remember by the end of the season, it was one of those kind of like challenges as an actress that you hope for and then you get and you're like, well, shit, I hope I can do this. Because she goes through so much turmoil and heartbreak, especially towards the end, and finding out that her entire world isn't what she thought it was. So I remember there was a point towards the end of season 1 where it was so gratifying at the end of each day, but like literally to start out the day, I just was kind of having to mentally prepare myself, because I remember when Kripke was directing the finale, most of my days on set with him, we were just kind of, it was me in the conversation with my mom and fighting with her and screaming, crying, and it was just trying to find the emotional truth of what Starlight was going through. So it was super interesting. It was really gratifying. It was also hard. You know, it was really hard, but I just was working with the cool material that they were writing for me. And it was, as I was getting the scripts, it was fun because every script had a new layer that I had to find within her character. So hard, but gratifying.
Jack, Huey's trauma is what kicks off this entire story for at least us as viewers. But by the end of season 1, thank you. But by the end of season 1, he's faced with talking to Butcher about reconciling like what that actually means and how far he wants to go for revenge and what he actually wants. So can you talk about, the journey that Huey takes throughout the first season to go from this is what he wants and the revenge that he wants, and then what actually means most to him by the end of season 1, you think?
Totally, yeah. I mean, what I loved about the character was that he started out, very, very passive in his life. He kind of didn't really have huge aspirations to do anything else. He was very comfortable in his world, has a great girlfriend. And then all of that, I mean, as we all know at this point, is just taken away in blink of an eye, thanks to somebody on this live stream. I don't know. Who knows? But what I like about him is he starts as a guy that I think his dad says even that he's not a fighter, and then he finds kind of a role model in Butcher, and initially it's just kind of like, oh, this guy actually takes charge and he does what he says. So that's kind of enticing to him in the beginning. And then he starts to realize, not all soups are the same. In fact, there are a few that are really cool, like Annie. And it's a revenge story that gets cut off before he can actually go through with it. And at the last scene, he has a change of heart and he realizes, okay, this guy is going through, A-Train is going through so much pain in his own life. And look, he did something horrible, but I mean, an eye for an eye isn't really going to solve this. So he tries to save him and ultimately leaves it up to Annie. But just playing that journey was, like Erin said, just so rewarding and so, fun is an interesting word. I was about to say fun, but yeah, it was just like the experience of a lifetime for an actor. And then you get to see Huey come into his own even more in season 2. And I feel really lucky to have this job. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it, man. Sure.
Karl, Butcher takes a totally different take and holds on to his grudge and holds on to his pain, and that's what fuels him. But by the time we get to end of season 1, it obviously is clear he finds out that everything that's really been fueling him, it's completely different. He didn't know all of this. So can you talk about how you think that's going to change him as a person from what we saw all throughout season 1? And he was so confident in who he was and what he wanted and what he believed was right for him to do.
Yeah, season 2 is a huge game changer for Butcher. The revelation that Becca is alive does change everything. His focus goes from, exacting revenge against Homelander to he has to find and rescue Becca. And the journey that he goes along through the course of the season really forces Butcher to confront his innermost demons. And we get to discover how he became the way he is. We later on in the season, we get to meet his parents, and we really come to understand that there's a certain amount of damage that was inflicted upon him, and that is sort of directly resulting in this sort of monster that lives within Butcher. It's that monster that smashes Mesmer's face into the sink. It's the monster that Butcher struggles to contain, and so really the season in a way humanizes Butcher, and it sort of, he comes to, I guess, without giving too much away, be a bit more self-aware and a bit more aware of potentially his courses of action and how it affects other people. Whereas in season 1, he's just in this monastic groove, and it's just blind revenge, and it's inflicting the most amount of pain and damage that he can upon Homelander, upon Vought. So there's a lot of personal growth, and really for me, the most, I guess, emotionally centered part of the season pertains to Butcher's relationship with Becca, played wonderfully by Chantel Van Sant, and she's so extraordinary this season. I can't wait for you guys to get to see it. Super exciting.
Antony, Homelander in season 1 in the finale makes the very shocking decision to kill Madeline, and he had this very messed up relationship with her the whole season. But he loved her in his way. I'm gonna say he loves her. How do you think he got to that decision to choose to do that when she obviously meant so much to him in a very, very bizarre way?
I think there's clues all through the season. It starts in episode 2 when old homie turns around and says that he can be more. He wants to be more. And Eric always says it's like the actor that wants to become a producer. And production goes, we don't need that from you right now. And nobody say anything. Say what?
Oh God.
Yeah, sure. You're losing him.
No, so but there's these clues, and so he gets knocked back there. But he wants to expand, and he's not going to have his ambitions held back by anyone. And if Mummy says you're not allowed to do this, then okay, well I'll just go and do it anyway, and then tell Mummy afterwards. And all will be well. But there's one point a little bit later on as well when I very specifically say to her, do not lie to me. You know, of everyone in the world, you know, it's a very damaged individual. So I don't think she appreciates in that moment when Homelander sits there and says, promise me you'll never lie to me again. And then she goes, I promise I'll never lie to you, and then lies to him. So, I mean, at that point, she kind of seals her fate. Because, you know, you got to...
She deserved it, didn't she? She had it coming.
She fucking had it coming.
She had it coming.
She did. She did. She did. What are we going to say? She was a good person? Come on. But no, it was. I think it was like it was growing through season one, and then you know, it came down to a simple choice. You know, and which, well, from Homelander's perspective, a simple choice, and she just became collateral at that point.
Dang.
I want to ask about A-Train, and like we talked about earlier, his struggle throughout season one, and how much it mirrors like what the Soup have to deal with in this like drug addiction kind of like you need this to maintain who you are and to be a Soup, and you need to have the compound B, and you need to do this to be part of that. How important do you think that was to A-Train's identity in season one? Because he had a really, really hard time not being able to be part of that and coming back to that. And who is he without being A-Train? Who would he be then?
Well, you know, for A-Train, he relied on the drugs for a lot of reasons. You know, the physical attributes that he gained from using Compound V was the most addicting for him. You know, but he's also addicted to the lifestyle that he lives. He's addicted to where he is, you know, socially and things like that. And for him, all answers kind of point back to Compound B. No matter what aspect of his life seemed like it was falling apart, the answer was Compound B for him. So, you know, he abused it. And you could have told him, hey, man, you know, abusing this thing is going to give you a heart attack. And, like, you know, who knows what's going to happen after that. And he probably still would have done it. That's just like the thing about A-Train. That's why it's really hard to watch. He was very pathetic at the time. You know, the level of, at the level he was relying on this drug, it was hard to watch. It was hard to do. It was hard to play. You know, I've never abused anything like that where I felt like I needed something to exist. And it was kind of hard to tap into that. But watching him back, I felt bad for A-Train. I'm like, hey, man, somebody help this guy. Like, he needs to talk to somebody. Where are the Vought people at who can, like, send him to rehab or something? But I don't know. You know, it's a tricky situation to be in as an actor and as a character. You know, it was a discovery process for me. But it was very interesting. Like, I think the points that Eric was trying to make came across from the unspoken moments, you know, in A-Train, when he would just look around and kind of have moments of realization where the only thing that he could count on was Compound B. And it led to his demise.
We did have the moment where it seemed like in the finale, like he struggled the whole season with his feelings about what happened with Huey and if he had guilt and he didn't have guilt and whether it was okay, and he's a Soup, and so that's fine. It seems like in the finale that he almost got to the point where he was going to accept responsibility, but then it was like, no, because I'm still a superhero and it's fine. Do you really think that deep down he doesn't care and he excuses it because of who he is and it's fine?
It's not that he doesn't care. He does care, which is why he even considers like other alternatives at times. You know, he cares. Like, he knows he can feel it, but he can't help himself. You know, he honestly can't. Like, we all have heard these stories of like someone who's addicted to drugs and like they feel bad for stealing from their family members, but they still do it. Like, that's kind of where A-Train is. Like, yeah, he feels bad for the things that he's going to do on Compound B, but not as bad as he feels when he's not on Compound B, you know? So at the end of the day, it's a very weak position to be in. It's a very selfish thing to do. But the alternative is too much for him to wrap his head around. So the answer, like I said, it always just comes back to Compound B for him. And, you know, after a while, he can't control it anymore.
Erin, we talked about you taking on the role of Starlight and how that progressed throughout season 1. I wanted to know what you can tease about what your relationship with Stormfront might be in season 2, given the fact that she's going to be the newbie, and then Starlight won't be the newbie in the 7 anymore. Is she going to try and guide her? Are they going to be friends? Are they going to be enemies? Will she try and impart some wisdom to her?
I think Starlight's a little bit, I think she's in her own world a little bit too much to be in the position of imparting wisdom. But what I will say is that, like Stormfront comes in and she's really different from anyone that's ever been in the 7. And we see it when she's doing the live stream. Like she's just, she keeps it very real. And obviously Starlight wants to do the same, has always wanted to do the same. Season 2 is kind of about how she has to play the game to, achieve the same objectives she was trying to achieve in season 1. But season 2 involves her kind of having to just, seem like a Vought Barbie, even though perhaps she might be doing the opposite. So I think Stormfront perceives her as that. I think that she perceives Stormfront as a potential ally, but unfortunately, Starlight has a mask on to a certain extent in season 2. She can't really unveil it. So I think that she pegs Stormfront as an ally, and I don't think that, at least in the beginning, that's reciprocated. But then obviously, like season 1 of The Boys, nothing is quite as it seems, and things get hella complex. And but that's the beginning of their dynamic.
Okay, so I think that we are going to shoot to some fan questions. So one.
Nice.
All right. Yes. You guys are sick of mine. Okay. We have one from Nikki Bateman. I have a question for Eric Kripke. All right, it's supernatural, Eric. So everyone else, just take it.
I know. Everyone else, chill out.
Bye.
Bye.
So, would they hang out with the boys or the Soups?
They would definitely 100% hang out with the boys. I think they actually have quite. Sorry, guys. I think they actually have quite a lot in common with the boys. I think that they are blue collar dudes who are taking on, basically a supernatural force that's way more powerful than they are. And, a few people have pointed out to me that they're like, the boys could just be your hard R-rated supernatural. And I was like, nah, I think it's got its own thing. It's a thing going on. Yeah, a bit different. But yeah, no, they would. I think they would actually get along quite well with the boys.
Karl and Jack, would you welcome them into the boys club?
Oh, I think Huey would jump at the chance. Just somebody with somewhat of a better head on their shoulders than Butcher is here. Yes. Oh, thank God.
All right, we have one from Andre Person. Question for Jack Quaid. Will he grow a beard?
I love this question because this is a thing that actually I can say this. I think
sure.
Can he grow a goatee? Yeah.
Yeah. What would that look like?
Can you?
First of all, okay, I have two very small stories. One time in between season 1 and season 2, I grew out, what little I have, and shaved it down to the goatee. And I remember I sent it to Eric, and I also sent it to Simon Pegg, and I was wearing the green hoodie from the comics, and I was like, hey, and I just sent them the photo. And the hair around my mouth was so faint that people were just like, what are you? Okay, this is just a photo of you? They were like, okay, well, sure. I mean, maybe in quarantine it'd be different, but, The second story is I was actively pitching Eric that at the beginning of season 2, Huey should have a goatee that he would think is a disguised goatee. So, because he's wanted, to throw him off the scent. And it was actually in the script for a while. I think Annie and Huey meet at one point, and she's like, "Oh, you gotta shave that. It's so gross. It's so gross." But didn't
I originally say what's that on your?
What is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then, you know, the logistics of like, okay, so Jack is going to have a goatee for half of this, and we're going to have to like schedule the whole thing around this goatee and when he shaves it. And fake goatees look terrible. So, you know, maybe in, you know, hopefully future whatever, let's see, let's wait out the plague and see.
All right. Okay, from Laura Silvestri. Eric, can I be your young Padawan? That's several. Karl,
Okay.
what's going to be Billy's fashion trend this year? No Hawaiian shirts. And then everyone, if not your own, what other role would you have wanted to play in the show? Let's just do this in order. Karl.
Yes, I'm starting a school for Padawans, and Laura, you can join.
Billy's fashion trends this year are sort of a mixture. There's Hawaiians, which obviously is his superhero uniform costume, but he actually also slips into, I think, a few crane shirts, a few volcano shirts.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he sort of mixes it up. There's all sorts of interesting, weird, and wonderful designs.
That's also what you wear when you're not on set, which is so confusing to me.
Right?
Yeah, I thought you were doing that
You've
on
adopted the fashion.
All right, and then everyone, if not your own, what other role would you wanted to play in this?
That's tough.
You go first, Erin. Ladies first.
I would want to be Frenchie. I want to be Frenchie. I think he's hell.
Frenchie.
He's
That's a good one.
high all the time, but he's like really cool. Like, I feel like every shot you see him in, he's just I just think he's cool.
Yeah.
It's probably because Tomer's brilliant and
Yeah.
he makes it cool. That's half of it. But I really like Frenchie.
If not Frenchie, maybe Black Noir. Just work on physical comedy and just like you can do anything behind the mask. Do anything.
Huge shout out to Nathan Mitchell, by the way, who gives that part so much.
Yeah,
so
much life.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he is.
I would. This is my stock answer for this question, which has come up before. I would be the female, simply so that I wouldn't have to learn lines and but still be a badass. That'd be great. But I couldn't. Obviously, it's tricky though when you say that, because it's like, yeah, I could have a crack at it, but then you think of the person doing it, and you're like, fuck me.
Yeah,
she's so good. Like, it's difficult for me to say. Like, I mean, I know it's not a serious question. Don't get me wrong. But I seriously think I could be the female. I get that, but like Karen's so good, man. But I would love to try and be that like spicy little minx for a couple of
It is spicy.
Spicy.
Okay.
I'm gonna steal Erin's answer, and I was gonna say Frenchie too. I think it's just because Tomer. Every time I look at him on set, he's just the one having the most fun, and he makes me laugh unlike anyone else. He's just brilliant, and I don't know. Maybe I just want to be Tomer. I don't even know if I want to be Frenchie.
I'll go with translucent, just because I could.
Just want to walk
get
around
my junk
naked
out, basically, and just hang around bathrooms, and I've always wanted to do that. So
coming for you, man.
Oof. Wow, you can still do that, bro.
Oh no,
Yeah, you don't need to be invisible to do that.
Yeah,
you can do it.
Jack said he's coming for you with the with the butthole explosive.
Yeah, you know. I got him around the house now.
From Rachel McCracken, question for Eric and/or Karl. Are we going to get a glimpse inside Butcher's past, and how do his motivations change after finding out the truth about Becca?
Yes, basically yes. Well, I pretty much answered that question before when you asked me about Butcher going forward this season. Yeah, definitely everything changes for Butcher once he finds out Becca's alive, and you know. The tricky thing for him is that he needs the boys in order to rescue Butcher, but at the end of season 1, Butcher turned his back on the boys, and so at the start of season 2, it's kind of it's a very sort of a contentious point where Butcher and the boys are not on the same page, and that conflict it needs to be addressed. And but yeah, you're going to find out a lot more about Butcher this season, and it's going to be wild for sure.
All right. From Sandra R. Question for all. Who would you want your character to have more interaction with in the future that you may not have had much of a chance to earlier on in season 1? Thanks and much love to you all.
We love you too. That's a good question too.
For me, the Deep.
Me too.
Because I never see Chase, and I love Chase, but also I do feel like, Huey knows what he did to Starlight, and I assume he's very upset, and I think it would just be a really fascinating, interesting conversation. I don't know exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did we lose her? Where did she go?
We
Yeah,
might
I think
be on
she's
our own
gone.
right now.
Let's do it, guys.
Guys!
We're losing the moderator.
No rules!
Hijacked it. I would take
like
over this interview. So tell me.
Yeah, I think for me, I wouldn't mind having more interaction with Queen Maeve. Actually, I would see that Butcher would recognize that she is potentially someone who he could exploit or manipulate. So that to me would be, and it'd be fun. I'd love to work with Dom. I never got any scenes with her in season 1. So yeah, that'd be my pick.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Yes.
Oh, great. So I would like to with the man above me, Jack Quaid.
Hello.
Because I had so much fun doing that. Like our characters only interacted very briefly, but very meaningfully. And christening you was kind of incredible. Not christening. It was what?
Baptizing.
Baptizing. Excuse me. I spent so much time in church. I should know that. No, I love doing the scenes with you. And every time I do a scene with you, what I liked about it is you're so improvisational, and even when you're doing the dialogue, it feels like you're just making it up, which is really, really fun. It kind of keeps you on your toes, and I kind of like working like that as well. So, and
Eric,
also just
give us more.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sure.
It's just such a good
That was
collision of characters as well. It's just fun.
That was a fun day, man.
That was so much fun.
Go ahead, Erin.
It's funny because without saying too much about season 2, I feel like I'm the most spoiled on the show because I interact with everyone.
You totally do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
Everyone.
So with that in consideration, because I literally I've worked with everyone, which is amazing. But you know what? When I really think about it, Homelander and Starlight actually don't cross paths a lot at all. And whenever we do, it's like, because I'm always going to be like in a bit of a sticky spot in the 7. You know what I mean? And he's the dad who's always wanting to like punish us. So I feel like I would like more stuff with Homelander because every time it's like season 1 boardroom scene, just we like build on that in season 2. And I like being able to get angry because Starlight's usually kind of having to stay somewhat composed. So that, considering I've worked with everyone, and feel quite lucky for that.
Thank you, Erin.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
For me
No one ever says
personally,
that.
I like fantasize about this scene that happens in some version of the show where A-Train and Frenchie get together and just try a bunch of drugs.
Yes!
Yes! They're both junkies, and I feel like, Frenchie would be like, you know what, Compound V might not be your go-to. Try this. I'm like, oh, I can see what you're saying, but you need to try V, you know. And then like we kind of just get together
Die.
and just like
die.
go on like a little.
He would die.
You would literally
yeah.
kill each other.
But he'd be willing to try it though. That's the thing.
So Eric's going to get on a conference call with the writers after this and go, so guys, listen, the actors have inadvertently spoiled all our potential for the next season, so we're going to have to come up with some new shit.
All out the window now.
Yeah.
All right, we have another question for Erin. Is Annie's position in the 7 threatened because of her past relationship with Huey? And does Mr. Edgar have more or less patience with her than Stillwell did?
Okay. I would just say that she is she's got a better she's better at putting a mask on than we anticipate. So I would say that she's quite stealthy with her role in the 7 in season 2. Does Mr. Edgar have more or less patience with her than Stillwell did? Interesting. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Mr. Edgar, there's not, how do I say this without giving it away? I would say that, you know what? I would say she's awarded a lot of patience in season 2, and I think it's an attribute to her ability to, keep that facade intact.
Okay. From Andrew Aurelian, question for
Bill.
Eric. I loved the scene where Bill uses the superpowered baby to kill. Where did this come from, and how were you able to get away with it?
I have a really brilliant writer's room of perverts and miscreants, and we were just kind of kicking around. We knew that we were going to discover that they were dosing babies with V. That was part of the mythology. So why I have one of the best jobs in the world is we sit around with a group of people and say, okay, so Butcher's going to go to the hospital and he's going to find this superpowered baby, and then someone, just says, oh, you should use it as a gun, and we were, oh my god, that's amazing. And so then from there comes literally dozens and dozens of people working their asses off for months to figure out how to pull that off. And that's why I have the best job in the world. I mean, Amazon was totally cool letting us get away with it. I would just say, splitting, when the people got cut in half, that was full CG. So our visual effects department was remarkable. And then we really got a good break that Karl could speak to, because that baby was just amazing. That baby gives one of the best performances of that.
Full credit to the baby, and definitely to the baby's mother, who was standing just off camera as I'm wielding this child, and rather erratically too. I mean, I've held a baby or two in my time, but it was a pretty violent, sweeping kind of action. The kid handled it like a pro, and the mother's there going, it's hilarious.
Kid's like, I'm doing this every day.
Yeah.
When the laser baby becomes a laser man, we have to have him on one of these.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Question from Hannah T. Question for Jessie. How does the heart attack affect your relationship with your brother? And does he know or find out what you were doing regarding the drug?
A lot of that is left to be answered. We can't give much away. The heart attack happens at the very end of season 1. So, who it affects from that point on, you have to wait and see. But my brother knew about Compound V. He knew that I had used it before. He knew that I had abused it before, and he always wanted me to be on the straight and narrow because he also knows what it could lead to. So, you can only imagine what hearing that news would mean to him and how he would react. But, we'll have to wait for that to play out.
From Don Marshall Fannin, question for Eric. How closely does season 2 follow the comics? And then for everyone, did you read the comics before playing your character, or if not, have you done so since?
To answer the first question, I think it's pretty similar to what we did in season 1. And by that I mean like we don't follow it letter by letter. I think that'd be actually really difficult because the comics really work almost as episodic adventures, and the medium of streaming is one long serialized story. So we couldn't even do it even if we wanted to. But what we really work hard to do is, and will continue, is really capture the tone of it. And there's all sorts of, we're all super fans of it, so we're always grabbing characters from the books that we love, moments from the books that we love. You have to kind of think of it as it's almost like a remix of a lot of the elements from the book in a new way, and I think that continues in season 2.
And then everybody about reading the comics, not reading the comics, having since read the comics.
We read. I think we kind of read through a lot of the issues when we first were getting ready to start production. It didn't take long for me to know what I was gotten myself into. I was already involved in the show before I had read it, so there was no going back. I was like, this is what we're doing. Okay, well, this is what we're doing. Perfect. And then as things kind of happen in scripts, I would just reference the comics to see what version of that was there, to see if we lost our minds or if we're just right on track. And for the most part, we're just right on track. It's what it is. We look at the comics and I feel better about what we're doing on the show, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if you did what was in the comic, you would never have this show on air. You could not air it anywhere.
No, it would be on Pornhub. It would be on Pornhub.
Great idea.
What is Pornhub?
Oh yeah.
Why are we doing that?
To the next.
The Boy is now streaming exclusively on Pornhub.
Exactly.
Brings us to the next fan question, though, which is if you could have a scene from the comics put into the TV show, what would it be? And let's just pretend, for the sake that maybe it would be on Pornhub. If you could get what?
Herogasm!
There we go.
Ooh, Herogasm, yeah.
Herogasm, yeah.
Sick. I think that's a
Not
general.
that I would be involved because I play such an angelic character, but I would love to see other people do it, and I would love to come along to whatever island it is and just hang and watch.
Let's not shoot in Hawaii.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
Yeah. There's one scene in the comics where Huey goes undercover as a superhero to the world's version of the X-Men called the G-Men, and he's wearing this suit that's too small for him, and it's just him undercover is so funny to me that I would want that to be in the show at some point. It's hilarious.
All right. For Eric, any significance to the
yes.
It shows up on screen a couple of times.
Short answer, definitely. And I'm glad you noticed the mystery of the fly, because that's the key to understanding really the boys. The longer answer is no, not really. It was just sort of they're flies, and we're shooting in the summer, and the one thing I will say is we specifically in editing went for the takes that had the flies in them because the aesthetic of the show is to be as absolutely realistic as we possibly can be, and I sort of started jamming when we were making it on the idea of boy, you never see just flies buzzing past people, but it happens all the time in reality. And it happened when they were filming, so we should use those. And me and the editors kind of got into the idea of any time a fly buzzed by, a lot of times we would use that take if it was a good take.
Great. So we should, as a cast going forward, just save the best of our shit until there
when a
happens to be a fly around. Because if
were
there's not a fly in
awesome
shot, it's not
takes.
going to make it into the show.
They were also awesome takes.
I will cover myself in fruit and
all awesome take. But then the fans started seeing all that, and then it became like a conspiracy theory. But really, it was just kind of an aesthetic choice.
Just a dirty set.
All right, and this is our last question. For Jeff, you were a career tribute in Hunger Games. Do you
Yes, I
prefer
was.
to live in a society like the boys or like the Hunger Games?
Oh God, they're both simultaneously our reality now. What is going on? Oh man, I think I would prefer to live in. I guess just because it's closer to what I know and what I'm comforted by. I guess to the boys' universe, even though it's probably a way more dangerous world. At least some people are kind of wise to the idea that people are corrupt. Where in the Hunger Games, most people are like, yeah, this is good, except for like a very small few. Actually, I guess both shows have that.
Okay, as a Hunger Games super fan, can I just say that the Hunger Games world is way more dangerous?
Interesting. Show your work. What is?
Let's be honest.
Show your work.
Come on. Are you
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
I'll just contribute as a super fan in the corner that I think Hunger Games is more dangerous.
You're not wrong. I think that's why I think boys' reality. There's less people, I guess, actively trying to kill you. In the
not
boys'
literally
reality.
destined to die, right?
Sure.
You've seen season 2, though, right, Erin?
Well,
Say that.
I know. I stand by.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
There we go.
I think so.
No, I agree with you. You raise good points. You do.
On Erin's good points is where we're going to end. So thank you everyone for joining us today. It was great to have you all. Be sure to take advantage of our free trial to Wrap Pro so that you can find out about upcoming Wrap screenings like this one. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brad. That was good fun. Thank you.